Hey guys, this is Jake Eldridge with the Davis Catalano Real Estate Group at Realty One Group Eminence. Wanted to talk today a little bit about some of the vocabulary that you might see as a home buyer or home seller. So I'm just going to run through some definitions. I also will post the link for a website that has a lot of these definitions defined. It's pretty easy. They list them alphabetically. You can just click on the letter and take you right to the definition. So if you are reviewing any paperwork as a buyer or seller of property, it's an easy reference to pull up in case you can't remember after watching this video. So we're going to start with abstract of title. Abstract usually refers to a summary of the public records relating to the title to a particular piece of land. An attorney or title insurance company reviews an abstract of title to determine whether there are any title defects which have to be cleared before a buyer can purchase a clear, marketable, and insurable title. So marketable title, you'll see that as a title that is free and clear of objectionable liens, clouds, or other title defects. A title which enables an owner to sell their property freely to others and which others will accept without objection. A deed. A deed is a formal written instrument by which title to real property is transferred from one owner to another. The deed should contain an accurate description of the property being conveyed, should be signed and witnessed according to the laws of the state where the property is located, and should be delivered to the purchaser at the closing day or close of escrow. Let's see, a grantee. A grantee is the party in that deed who is the buyer or recipient. On the opposite, a grantor is the party in the deed who is the seller or giver. Closing costs. Closing costs. These are the numerous expenses which buyers and sellers normally incur to complete a transaction in the transfer of ownership of real estate. The costs are in addition to the price of the property and are items prepaid on closing day. These are the costs that can be for items such as documentary, stamps or on notes, cost of abstract, recording the deed and mortgage, documentary stamps on the deed, escrow fees, real estate commission, attorney's fees, title insurance, survey charges, appraisal and inspection fees, and escrow fees. These are all items that you can negotiate in your offer as to whether the buyer or the seller is paying for those items. Escrow. Escrow is funds paid by one party to another, usually the escrow agent, to hold until the occurrence of a specified event, after which the funds are released to a designated individual. In FHA mortgage transactions, an escrow account usually refers to the funds that a mortgagor pays the lender at the time of the periodic mortgage payments. The money is held in a trust fund provided by the lender for the buyer. Such funds should be adequate to cover yearly anticipated expenditures for mortgage insurance premiums, taxes, hazard insurance premiums, and any special assessments. You also sometimes see the earnest money deposit held with escrow, and if inspections are billed to escrow, the funds or for those services are paid to the escrow company and then dispersed to whomever needs payment for their services. So if you are backing out of a purchase due to that inspection, and it's clarified in the offer that the inspector is to be paid out of escrow, then that earnest money deposit would be refunded less those costs of inspections. So keep that in mind. let's see. So closing day or close of escrow, that's just the day that the formalities of a real estate sale are concluded. Once the sale is recorded with the county, the keys can be handed over to the new buyer, and both the buyer and seller can celebrate because it is successfully closed. The property is transferred. Restrictive covenants. These are private restrictions limiting the use of real property. Restrictive covenants are created by a deed and may either run with the land, binding all subsequent purchasers of the land, or may be personal and binding only between the original seller and the buyer. The determination whether a covenant runs with the land or is personal is governed by the language of the covenant, the intent of the parties, and the law in the states where the land is situated. Restrictive covenants that run with the land are encumbrances and may affect the value and marketability of title. Restrictive covenants may limit the density of buildings per acre. They can regulate the size of the buildings. They can regulate a style or price range of buildings that are to be erected, or prevent particular businesses from operating. Special assessments. Special assessments is a special tax imposed on property, individual lots, or all property in the immediate area for road construction, sidewalks, sewers, streetlights, stuff like that. A special lien. A special lien is a lien that binds a specified piece of property. So unlike a general lien, which is levied against all of one's assets, it creates a right to retain something of value belonging to another person as compensation for, let's say, labor, material, or money expended in that person's behalf. Some localities it's called particular lien or specific lien. So if you see those, that's what it's referring to. You do see that a lot in construction. If you had a contractor or somebody come out and they were not paid, then they might file for one of those liens in order to get paid. What else? A survey. A survey is a map or plat made by a licensed surveyor showing the results of measuring the land with its elevations, improvements, boundaries, and its relationship to surrounding tracts of land. Survey is often required by lenders to assure that a building is actually sited on the land according to its legal description. Easement rights. Easement rights. Those are a right-of-way that's granted to a person or company authorizing access to or over the owner's land. So an example of this might be an electric company obtaining a right-of-way across private property. Encumbrance. An encumbrance is a legal right or interest in land that affects a good or clear title and diminishes the land's value. Can take numerous forms such as zoning ordinances, easement rights, claims, mortgages, liens, charges, pending legal action, unpaid taxes, or restrictive covenants. An encumbrance does not legally prevent the transfer of property to another person. A title search is all that's usually done to reveal the existence of such encumbrances, and it is up to the buyer to determine whether they want to purchase said property with that encumbrance, or you can discuss what can be done to remove it. Moving on to, you'll see building line or setback referred to often. This is distances from ends and or sides of the lot beyond which construction may not extend. So the building line may be established by a filed plat of subdivision, by restrictive covenants in deeds or leases, or by building codes or zoning ordinances. Zoning ordinances, those are The acts of an authorized local government establishing building codes and setting forth regulations for property and land usage. You might see a cloud on the title. A cloud on the title, when you find that, is an outstanding claim or encumbrance which would adversely affect the marketability of the title. This is where there's a problem with abstract that was discussed earlier. The cloud on the title would need to be removed in order to move forward with the purchase of said property. So title is, as generally used, is the rights of ownership and possession of particular property. In real estate usage, title may refer to the instruments or documents by which a right of ownership is established, or it may refer to the ownership interest one has in the real estate. Title insurance. Title insurance protects lenders or homeowners against loss of their interest in property due to legal defects in the title. Title insurance may be issued to a mortgagee's title policy. Insurance benefits would only be paid to the named insured in the title policy, so it is important that an owner purchase an owner's title policy if they desire the protection of title insurance. Let's see, title search or examination. This is a check of the title records, generally at the local courthouse, to make sure the buyer is purchasing a house from the legal owner and there are no liens, overdue special assessments, or any other claims or outstanding restrictive covenants filed in the record which would adversely affect the marketability or value of the title. A trustee. A trustee is a party who is given legal responsibility to hold property in the best interest of or for the benefit of another. Trustee is one placed in a position of responsibility for another, a responsibility enforceable in court. So you often see that, if your parents own property, they might set you as the trustee in case something were to happen to them. So let's see. A binder. You might see this also referred to as a purchase offer or offer to purchase, but essentially just a preliminary agreement secured by the payment of an earnest money deposit between a buyer and a seller as an offer to purchase real estate. The binder secures the right to purchase real estate upon agreed upon terms for a limited period of time. So if the buyer changes their mind or is unable to make a purchase, that earnest money can be forfeited unless the binder expressly provides that it is to be refunded. So we just kind of went over earnest money, but earnest money is, the deposit of money given to the seller or the escrow company upon the signing of the purchase agreement to show that you are serious about buying the house if the sale goes through. Now, the earnest money, again, is applied against the down payment if the sale does not go through. However, that earnest money, again, can be forfeited or lost unless the binder specifically expresses that it is refundable. A mortgage. Most people know what a mortgage is, but it's a lien or claim against real property given by the buyer to the lender as security for the money they are borrowing for the purchase of property. Under government insured or loan guarantee provisions, the payments may include escrow amounts covering taxes, hazard insurance, water charges, and special assessments. Mortgages generally run from 10 to 30 years. During which the loan is to be paid off. So that just protects the mortgage company. If you were to default and not be able to make the payments, then they can begin foreclosure and take possession of the property. Conventional mortgage. So this is a type of mortgage. It's a mortgage loan that's not insured by HUD or guaranteed by the Veterans Administration, subject to conditions established by whatever lending institution and state statutes. The mortgage rates may vary with different institutions and between states. It's especially important as there are properties which have restrictions on the type of lending that is allowed. Also, with mortgage deferment programs being offered right now due to the coronavirus, if you do have a loan that is backed by HUD or VA, then you would typically be eligible for that mortgage deferment. However, if you have a conventional loan that's not backed by HUD or VA, then depending on who services the mortgage, you may not be eligible for the deferment. Obviously contact your lender to confirm if you would be eligible for that. Let's see, mortgage insurance premiums. This is the payment made to by a borrower to the lender for transmittal to HUD to help defray the cost of FHA mortgage insurance program and to provide a reserve fund to protect lenders against loss in insured mortgage transactions. In FHA insured mortgages, this represents an annual rate of 0.5% paid by the mortgagor on a monthly basis. Mortgage E is the lender in a mortgage agreement. So if you see mortgagee, that's your lender. A mortgagor is the borrower in a mortgage agreement, so you would be the mortgagor. Let's see, interest. Interest is just a charge paid for borrowing money, so that's definitely important to understand. There's always interest when it comes to purchasing real estate. A lien. A lien is a claim by one person on the property of another as security for money owed. Such claims might include obligations not met or satisfied, judgments, unpaid taxes, materials, or labor. So, again, that kind of goes back to you see it a lot in contractors where there was an agreement in place, someone was billed for services and never paid, so they might file a lien, so when that property does sell, they can get paid for the work that was done on the property. Points. You do often see this. They're sometimes referred to as discount points. So a point is 1% of the amount of the mortgage loan. For example, if a loan is $25,000, 1 point would be $250. Points are charged by a lender to raise the yield on the loan at a time when money might be tight. Interest rates are high, and there is a legal limit to the interest rate that can be charged on a mortgage. Buyers are prohibited from paying points on HUD or VA guaranteed loans. However, sellers can pay that, so keep that in mind during the negotiation process. Also, on a conventional mortgage, points may be paid by either the buyer or seller, so just keep that in mind. Prepayment. So a lot of people often ask, about prepayment penalties. Prepayment is payment of a mortgage or loan or part of it before its due date. Mortgage agreements often restrict the right of prepayment either by limiting the amount that can be prepaid in any 1 year or charging a penalty for prepayment. You should know that the FHA does not permit such restrictions in FHA insured mortgages. Let's see, a principal. So principal refers to the basic element of the loan as distinguished from interest and mortgage insurance premium. Down payment. Down payment, that's the amount of money that is to be paid by the purchaser to the seller upon the signing of the agreement of sale. Amortization. So amortization is a payment plan which enables the borrower to reduce their debt gradually through monthly payments of principal. So, usually the 30-year fixed mortgages are amortized, which means, you're paying, part of it is interest and the rest goes to your principal balance. And over time, usually you start off with the a larger sum going towards interest, and then as you pay down on the loan, more and more goes to the principal balance. Appraisals. Appraisals are an expert judgment or estimate of the quality or value of real estate as of a given date. So it's really important to understand that if you are getting a mortgage and not paying cash, which most people are, usually the lender demands that an appraisal be done on the property so that they know that it is of the value that you're establishing the loan for. Hazard insurance. Hazard insurance protects against damages caused to property by fire, windstorms, other common hazards like that. So important to understand, what you're paying for in insurance. HUD. HUD is the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So it's the Office of Housing and Federal Housing Administration. Within HUD, insures home mortgage loans made by lenders and sets the minimum standards for such homes. So that's just kind of some vocabulary that I think it is important to understand whether you are a buyer or a seller. If you do have any questions regarding this, please don't hesitate to click that comment button if you're watching this on Facebook, and feel free to ask through there. You can also call me 7 days a week on my cell phone at 775-378-4976, or you can email me as well at jakeeldridge32@gmail.com. So I hope you enjoyed this vocabulary for today. Again, I am going to post in the comments a link that I think would be valuable to bookmark if you are either planning to purchase or sell your home. That way, if you do have any questions regarding vocabulary that you might see, you can refer back to that. So I will put it in the comments. Thanks, guys, and have a great day.